Hi, I hope you're all having a blessed day. So, in my first video I made about a year ago, I spoke a little bit about how I am a survivor of domestic violence, and I wanted to take a minute to suggest, advocate, and recommend the WCA and also Project Harmony as two resources that are really good if anybody needs help. I do I do want people to know that there are places out there that will help you if you are in a type of situation that you do need help, because I was uninformed. I didn't know, I didn't believe that there were places, there were people that actually would help you in those types of situations, because I had felt extremely trapped, and it's a cycle. It's a extreme cycle that just keeps going and going and going. And you it's very I understand it's extremely hard to get out of that type of conditioning that you're in. But I do have a few things that I want to read today. Galatians 5:20, idolatry and witchcraft, hatred and discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions, warns of internal wars and battles inside the soul, where trauma twists the mind into believing. You are about to lose this. This is too good to last. And if it happened before, it will happen again. Sometimes we're afraid to open our heart again because we're afraid that that cycle is going to keep repeating itself over and over again. And trauma trains you to sabotage blessings because you fear how much it will hurt if you lose them again. And this is not you, it's the wound speaking. So Genesis 32:22, Jacob finally met God face to face, and this was in human form. And he allowed him to finally be confronted with his inner battles that he had avoided all his life. And God met him in the language that Jacob could finally understand, which was struggle, persistence, determination, and longing. The wrestling with God externalized the wrestling with his soul, fighting for blessing, identity, acceptance, fear, fighting through trauma from his childhood and consequences of his own mistakes. So God cripples Jacob's hip with one single touch. But why? Because Jacob needed to learn you don't win by strength, you win by surrender. Trauma trains you to survive, not to trust. What if God leaves me too? What if he lets me get hurt again? What if he asks me to leave what I have, which is very little? What if I am unworthy of a blessing? What if I fail again? This is why God met Jacob in a match, because Jacob didn't know how to be vulnerable. He only knew how to fight, manipulate, survive, run, and resist. Trauma can make people strong in a lot of the wrong places too, and also weak in places that people need strength, which is something that I had to learn along the way. And it was actually really the hard way. And so sometimes God wrestles us in areas where trauma taught us to mistrust. When we fear losing people, rejection, failure, abandonment, surrender, being unworthy, and fear love, which will hurt us again. And we cling to control. And when we try to hold on to our own identity, God wrestles us free from it. Trauma made Jacob a survivor, but God wasn't trying to make him survive. He was trying to make him whole again. And running was a coping mechanism for Jacob from childhood trauma. So God touches the place that Jacob used, not to wound him, not to hurt him, but to stop the cycle that trauma had created. Trauma caused it for him. Trauma forces people to depend only on themselves because others were not safe. But God wants to be your safety. Just remember that some of the things that have changed you have humbled you and are not marks of trauma, but they are marks of God's closeness. I hope this word bless you, and I hope you have a blessed day.